Tired of wasting money and time on marketing that doesn't deliver? Here are the strategies that work for me. So when I first started, I really just invested in one strategy, and that was Google Ads. And don't get me wrong, Google Ads are great, and they were a very successful method of generating leads for me. But what I kind of realized over time, though, is you got to diversify, especially in the beginning, because I didn't have a lot of capital to play with. And so Google Ads are expensive. And so I would get limited by budget every day. I think it was a $30 to $40 budget per day, maybe even $20. I can't 100% remember now. But it was a low budget. And so I would get, it basically doesn't show your ad when you hit the budget for the day. And so I said, you know what, this isn't going to work. I need to diversify. And so I started doing yard signs. Ultimately, yard signs didn't work because of local ordinances. We're not allowed to put yard signs out, but they would have worked. I'm sure we'd still be using them if it weren't for that, but they did work. We started posting in Facebook groups. So I started posting a lot in different Facebook groups. I saw people asking for junk removal. I would comment on those posts. I would also make promotional posts in there. And there are several groups that actually consistently generate revenue for the group. There's the added benefit too that it helps with networking, but that's a whole separate thing. But we can actually mention networking as a lead source, and these groups helped with connecting me and going to those events and getting to know those people. Next up would be BNI. I joined a BNI and I met a lot of people there. And BNI is essentially a networking group that you pay to join. And they were very helpful. I still do business with those people to this day. And I think it was a great decision. But really what helped there was that mindset of, hey, we got to do multiple sources. And the reason for that, again, would be the budget. But what I'm really trying to say here is you don't want all your eggs in one basket. Let's say, I don't know, Google went down somehow, right? Then, and you were fully relying on Google Ads, you suddenly wouldn't have any leads coming in anymore. But by diversifying, you're okay if one of them stops working for whatever reason. And so that mindset was really, I would say, the biggest quote unquote strategy, and that had the biggest impact on the business growth. Because I essentially had a limiting belief, and I guess I was just too focused in on one thing when really there's all these other opportunities out here. And honestly, I would say at this point, I probably still haven't even explored all those opportunities. I think there's still a lot of room for improvement, and that's okay. That's something that I'm going to continue to grow. And so I measure the success of these marketing strategies. One way is just by asking, right? So you got to collect data. And so we ask the customers, hey, how did you hear about us? And our CRM software has a lead source field in there. We use House Call Pro, and it has a lead source field in there, and we fill that in there, and we track it, because the reality is if you don't track your numbers, you're not going to be able to improve. So that's really helped us. There's other stats in there like lifetime value, so we can see how much revenue that customer has generated over the course of time that they've been with us. Really helpful number, again. And so my advice that I'd give to other service business owners who have just started is certainly you can pursue paid ads like I did, but definitely you want to pursue the free avenues that are out there as well, or low cost. So those again would be like free networking events, right? Yard signs are pretty cheap. So we did the yard signs. Obviously, again, watch out for your ordinances. Posting in Facebook groups, again, that doesn't cost anything. We had our vehicle wrapped pretty early on. They're fully branded and marked, so they're literally like billboards on wheels. Business cards, right? Again, handing those out at networking events. And so having all these different little sources, they add up, right? None of them may be quote unquote extravagant, right? And I think that's a really limiting belief for a lot of people, is that they're like, oh, if this lead source doesn't bring in $20,000 a month, it's not worth my time. I would say that's a mistake, and that's something that I'm definitely guilty of as well with Facebook. Facebook just didn't seem that glamorous to me, but over time it's something that just keeps compounding. It keeps increasing, and our reputation keeps building because we're active on these platforms. So again, I would say start out with as much of the free avenues out there. There are other options too, right? Chambers of Commerce, BNI, like I mentioned. There's plenty of options out there. So I hope this video has been useful. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to subscribe.